There isn't a single forest in the world that doesn't hold a mystery. In fact, some consider this to be a place where nature's terrifying creatures hide, and today we decided to check it out. To do so, we collected some chilling sightings of creatures impossible to believe, spooky encounters in the bowels of the forest, and a terrifying discovery that will stop you from seeing the animal kingdom with the same eyes. So get comfortable and get ready, because you're about to meet the 10 scariest things found in the forest. Number 10. Presidential Find. The first creature that will amaze you wasn't shared on social networks by some anonymous user, nor does it come from any clandestine forum, but from the very presidency of the Republic of Mexico. Yes, you heard that right. The president of this country, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, seemed to be surprised after encountering what he described as an elf sitting in a tree. These words were published on his social networks, accompanied by a very peculiar photograph. The image showed a grim-looking creature with glowing eyes and amorphous body that bore certain similarities to several sculptures of the Yucatan Maya tradition. Immediately, the president didn't hesitate to compare this finding with the Mayan past and its elaborate ancient symbols, highlighting its similarities with the mythological spirit called Alux. These spirits inhabited the forest of Yucatan and were visible to humans and only showed themselves to those they considered worthy. As you can imagine, on social networks, thousands of users described the disturbing finding as absurd, but there were more reactions than you can imagine. These types of creatures don't seem to be something unusual in this country. On a daily basis, hundreds of people claim to have crossed the path of a myriad of mythological creatures and Mayan spirits. Believers seem convinced that in many regions of Mexico, the presence of these entities is still very strong, although most are convinced otherwise. Number 9. Dangerous Findings. Moving is never easy, much less when the destination we must go to is a remote field in some corner of the United States. But this was a situation a young man and his family had to deal with when they moved to a small ranch in Montana. The property was nice and the forest in the area was extensive and lush. It wasn't unusual for this young man and his brother to decide to go out and explore, perhaps unaware that they were about to cross paths with danger. As they walked down the path, they wondered what their life would be like now, where they would find new friends, and everything related to their future. They also remembered very accurately that the previous owner of this new house had fled the area within weeks of arriving. Apparently, something had spooked him, and it seems that, without intending to, these young men discovered why. Deep in the forest, the young men found the carcass of dozens of cows. The putrid flesh emanated a pungent odor, and their bones had been destroyed with some sharp weapon. They also discovered all sorts of crude survival materials in the surrounding area: bone axes, leaf pillows, and most surprisingly, a shelter made of tree wood. Someone dangerous lived in that forest, and when the idea was starting to become real in the minds of these young men, they heard footsteps approaching. In the distance, a robust silhouette could be seen, covered with hair and grayish skin. That had been too much. The young men fled the forest without looking back. They knew that something was chasing them, but they didn't stop until they returned home. From that time on, they never returned to the forest, and the family soon sold the property. Number 8. Yowies. It's no secret that Australia has one of the most diverse natural ecosystems on the planet. It's said that every form of life thrives in these lands, and perhaps this advantage is also one of its greatest risks, as it has given shelter to creatures that perhaps they didn't want. One of them is the fearsome yowie, a kind of Australian Bigfoot that has become a fascination for the inhabitants of this country. In fact, there's a group called Yowie Research that tries to monitor the sightings of this creature and is in charge of spreading the word on social networks. The most viral case of this team was popularized in the spring of 2021, when part of the team used a thermographic camera to try to find some trace of the yowie during the night. Their surprise was indescribable when they discovered that the images and videos captured in Springbrook National Park revealed the presence of a creature almost 3 meters tall, with a stocky body and a physiognomy that perfectly matched that of this legendary creature. In the images, the size and build of the Yowie can be appreciated, although it also reveals something more terrifying. Apparently, there wasn't one, but 2 beasts of this species, which seems to indicate that there could be a large community of these mysterious creatures somewhere in Australia. For researchers like Dean Harrison, this finding marks a before and after. Although these supposed Yowies disappeared as quickly as they had arrived, believers in their existence seem to have found new proof that the beast is real and that anyone visiting the jungle or forest of this country could cross its path without being prepared for it. Number 6. The Monkey Man. Singapore isn't a country that stands out too much for its stories of unexplained creatures, but it has one in particular that's enough to shock even the most skeptical. It's the mysterious Monkey Man of Singapore, known in their native language by the name of Bukatema. It's a creature that, although it bears certain similarities to the famous Bigfoot, is completely different from the latter because of its fierceness and for having tormented the Aborigines of the area for several centuries. But it doesn't seem that this is a story of the past, it's more present than ever. Recently, the news portal Mothership SG published images of a group of people who shared their experiences visiting the forest of Singapore at night. Their name is the Night Raiders, and in the video that went viral, they were exploring the Drongo Trail Nature Reserve when something happened that many would label as impossible. While they were advancing through the thick forest, the cameras filmed a large bipedal creature with abundant hair and a simian and terrifying face that seemed to be watching them from the trunk of a tree. Social networks identified the unknown beast as legendary Bukatema because of the gray color of its skin, its height of almost 2 meters, and its peculiar way of standing upright as if it were a human. Apparently, all the pieces fell into place, and the video revived a powerful debate among different communities in Singapore. Will this be real proof of the existence of the Monkey Man? At the moment, it remains difficult to answer, but there's no doubt that no one would want to risk visiting this inclement forest at night. Number 5. A robot in the forest. Walking in the woods is one of the best ways to disconnect from the urban chaos and enjoy nature. However, Matthew McCormick was in for a real surprise when, in the middle of his bike ride through Northampton Forest, he came across something unexpected. It was a mysterious delivery robot, a machine used by some companies to send packages to different addresses around the country and which was now wandering around the forest with no obligations. Matthew photographed the scene and uploaded it to social media, believing it wouldn't attract attention, but it immediately went viral. People were surprised to see this robot walking through the woods as if he was taking a mental health walk or something similar. However, the images horrified many people. It's no secret that technology is advancing at a rapid pace, and the most frequent questions in the comments revolved around how many years are left until robots start replacing us. What do you think? When will this become a reality? Do you think it'll ever happen? Leave us your answers in the comments. Number 4. Ragwolf. Do ragwolves exist? Most people would be more than willing to deny it outright and claim that these creatures belong to the realm of fantasy. But the reality could be very different, especially thanks to videos like the one posted by the Deep Bush Survival channel. This user seemed to have come across real images of horror while visiting the forest of his community with his pet. During the first seconds of the video, nothing unusual happens. Tranquility is in the air and nothing seems to disturb it. But suddenly, something that we don't expect happens. A high-pitched bark warns the cameraman that his pet is in trouble. Something is happening in the forest and it doesn't take long to find out. In front of the camera lens, the dog is running wildly as a monstrous creature chases him. It's a wolf, but not just any wolf. Its enormous size, its huge paws, its build, and its shape make it stand out from any other species ever recorded. It isn't unreasonable to think that it's a ragwolf. In fact, it's the most logical comparison at hand. There's nothing else to explain this mysterious sighting, and the most surprising thing about it is that it took many years to hear from this user again. Number 3. Technology in the forest. No one likes to be part of experiments without being notified, and this dog walker became part of Google's tests without knowing it. While playing with the dogs in her care deep in the woods, a powerful sound made her alert. The dogs also seemed restless and began barking into the trees, even though no one was there. It was a strange situation. The sound grew and grew, but instead of leaving immediately, the woman decided to get closer. Although she was afraid, she knew that she was backed by more than 7 dogs, some of them trained for hunting and guarding, so if there was danger, she wouldn't be alone. However, when she got to the source of the noise, she was surprised to discover that it wasn't an evil creature, not even a criminal, but a robot, or, as it's known, a TIAS, the Humanoid Boston Dynamics. This robot, created by Google, was designed to maintain a close kinship with humans. Its capabilities are amazing, and it has a huge list of sophisticated skills. It can hike, run, climb stairs, lift heavy objects, and even hit trees with a certain degree of intensity that prevents it from damaging its mechanisms and doesn't seriously harm the object it hits. Of course, coming across something like this in the middle of the forest can surprise even the bravest, and this woman only got to contemplate it for a while before deciding to leave the scene, completely shocked by what she had just seen. Number 2. Albino porcupine. Have you ever crossed the path of an albino porcupine? Probably not. Cases of albinism in animals are extremely rare, and most sufferers don't survive on their own for very long. However, in this Maine forest, Hunter Greg Strand was surprised to discover an almost impossible to believe creature in the middle of the trail. It was a colorless animal that was chewing its food without perceiving the presence of man. It took several seconds for the animal to notice that it was being watched, then it slowly approached and fled the area in desperation. The brief video seemed to have surprised more than one person, as there are very few records of an albino animal like this one. In fact, many believed it was impossible, and now that the evidence is documented, it seems that the impossible became real. Number 1. Strange creature from Oregon. Many things happen in Oregon, USA, including mysterious sightings of creepy creatures. In this county, the paranormal and the spooky come together to show us some of the most amazing facts you can imagine. One of them was recently published by the YouTube channel Audio Color, and it shows a short video in which you can see a brief fragment of something that has silenced the community. It's a strange humanoid entity that comes from the forest and advances crouched at the edge of the road. The sight is truly chilling and difficult to explain. The shape of its body and the strange peculiarities of what many have identified as an infernal beast of the forest have managed to catch the attention of the users of social networks, although there's no solid explanation for this disturbing fact. 00. What you're about to see shocked not only the Filbara community in Western Australia, but the entire internet, because the photograph of what this farmer managed to catch has terrified the whole world since its publication. According to the report, Ray Kennedy had a pig farm in Newman County. For a week, several of his guard dogs had been missing, and all traces led him into the woods. Concerned about the situation, he decided to go out with his pack and gradually found the blood trail of his former pets. Someone had been dragging the lifeless bodies of his dogs deep into the forest. For several hours he prowled the area trying to hunt down the culprit, and it was almost as night approached that he caught sight of the creature. It was a giant wild boar, a true demon beast. The creature was something he had never seen before. Its body was deformed and grotesque, its size was disproportionate, and its eyes announced merciless violence. Immediately, the creature lunged at Ray, but he was prepared. His shotgun opened fire 5 different times, and only on the 5th shot did the creature remain still and motionless. Ray carried the carcass back to his farm, and his children photographed it. The entire community was stunned by the discovery, and it was undoubtedly one of the most viral photographs ever recorded. Naturally, finds like these are surprising, but they aren't isolated cases. Forests are nature's unlimited hiding place, the refuge of the impossible, and if you'd like to verify these words, you'd better follow us in the next videos to find out for yourself.